So, Dominion 6. This is a game I doubt any of you have actually heard of before, but I've fallen in love with it. It's a very tactical and methodical game where you're trying to promote your own deity to the position of one true god. You can pick your nation, you'll have your own technologies, your own soldiers, your own weapons, you'll be crafting stuff, researching new spells, all against other empires trying to do the same thing. And it's hard. There's a lot of systems at work here, but we're going to jump into a new game and see what I can do. So right before hopping into the game proper, you design your god, the one you're going to put on the top. And so we're playing as the god of Pangaea, a nature of naked animal people, like centaurs, minotaurs, satyrs, harpies, the usual stuff. I'm not super for most of these units. I think a lot of them are kind of bad, especially the satyrs. They're just there to have fun, which isn't very useful when you're trying to take over the world. The centaurs are units. The minotaurs, you may think they should be absolute kings of the battlefield, but from my experience, they actually kind of suck. They're undisciplined most of the time, which means that you can't give them proper orders in battle. They're prone to going berserk, which makes them tougher, but again, even more stupid. And they just die all the time, especially when I try to make them leaders of the army. Whereas the centaurs are just really solid the whole time around. What we're really going to be doing is using our god, an undead dragon mage of a skeleton surrounded by reanimated plants that can switch between a humanoid form and a dragon form. So we're going to be rocking with that as our deity, with the ability to transform slain enemies into more animated plant zombies under my control. As you can see, there's a magic section where you can pick what magic schools you're proficient in and what spells you'll learn. We're just going for a combo of death and nature. Under that is blessings, where you can choose what your god's favour bestows to your favourite units. So we've got undying. If we die in battle, we come back again for a little bit longer. Undead command means that all of my favoured units can command the undead even if they shouldn't. And then resilience is going to give my favourite units more HP so that they don't die. Under that is dominion. This is what your god's favour does to the territory you control rather than the people in it. So we've basically just picked a slightly colder climate. Don't care too much because our god's undead anyway. With lots of resources. So I'm hoping that we can just spam out the best centaur units whilst our dead god converts the enemies into more thralls. And then you can also choose, does your god start awake, or do you have to wait a set amount of turns for more designing points? We're just starting with our god awake right off the bat because my strategy here is going to be using our god to fight and corrupt our enemies into more units for my future conquest. So we'll go in there, and I think the fitting name for this will be the Mighty Mage. Ha ha ha! So then you just create the world before hopping in to the game. This is the win condition here, your ascension points. Basically, you need to capture a certain amount of thrones to become the true god, and I like making the thrones more powerful, but also only half of them are required to win. Which means that you might not be able to win a match even if you have a superior army, because the enemy only needs 4 of your 8 thrones to win the game. It makes it more interesting in my opinion. And we're going to have renaming units allowed, because why would you not? Story events are on. And I'm pretty sure that's everything I like to do. And we are in. In the beginning there was chaos, and of the chaos the worlds were polluted with multiple beings. Blah blah blah, lots of people. There was one god in control of everything, they're gone now, and because they're gone their power has weakened, and the mighty mage, god of Pangaea, is going to ascend the throne and become the one true god. And here we are. So the world starts with a fog of war, you can only see what you traverse. We have started right next to one of the thrones we need to win the game. Excellent start, can't really ask for better than that. Wow. That's amazing. So, as you can see, we only control Pangaea, which has a couple land masses attached to it. The Grove of Gaia gives us our best unit, basically, and 6 nature gems per turn. You might guess that the nature gems will be used to fuel nature magic. We've got some units here on the left. Our Minotaur Lord is our general at the moment, our only one. Average stats, decent damage, but I've already listed off the problems with them, so I have very little expectations for this guy. And then we've got a Harpy, who is going to be our spy, because they can traverse massive amounts of distances while staying hidden, so we can scout the environment. I want to scout the forests, because my faction, being nature people, get a lot of bonuses in the forest. So we're going to be sneaking there. This Minotaur man is commanding a legion of satyrs, I should say. I really don't like them. These ones are slightly better because they obey orders, but they have no ranged weaponry. These ones don't obey orders, but have ranged weaponry, but they all suck. They're cowards. I think it's actually programmed they're more likely to flee. The description says so, at least. I'm new at the game, by the way. Never knew about this series, even though this is a 6th entry, and I only started playing recently. But I've already learned to hate those units. So basically, my only standing army, led by Themis, is terrible. I hate it. I hate the Lord, I hate the better satyrs, and I hate the worse ones. All bad. But the Mighty Mage is far better than them. We get bonuses just by being in the same zone as wherever he is. He can go underwater and cross rivers easily. There's just so many perks to this guy. Resistant to the cold, which is why I don't mind that we're in a slightly colder climate. And of course, with changed shape, we can become our undead dragon form. Spellcasting slightly worse, but we're a giant dragon. We have so many attacks in this form. Lots of them do magic damage, some poison. And there's 2 here, Carrion Vine. If we kill with these, then we turn the enemies to my own troops. So we're going to transform into a dragon form, and we're going to spread. But before we do, we're going to spend 1 turn as a mage researching magic, because you don't start with much magic. Let's see how much I have right now. 1 level in enchantment, and 1 level in construction. I'm going to be focusing on conjuration, summoning basically, and construction, magic crafting. Because the strategy I want here is going to rely on the ability to cast powerful summoning spells and equip my units with powerful gear. And I'm going to ignore pretty much everything else. So we want 1 in conjuration. This is the research queue, so I'm just stacking what order we're doing here. 1 in conjuration, 1 in construction. And then we'll go construct. I want to get construction 4 as soon as I can, because that's got a really good spell for my dragon to pump out. And you know what, we'll go to construction 5, just right off the bat. No, we won't. Conjuration 2. Construction 5, conjuration 3. That's probably good. Spell list, just reminding myself what I get at these levels. Yeah, conjuration 4's not bad for this. What do I get with the enchantments that we started with? Level 0, we always have that. Level 1, have a healing option. Oh, and a summoning option of skeletons. Good. I'll accept that. Enchantment is actually, to be fair, something worth supporting a bit. I'll add that to the list. That's probably the 3rd one I'll focus in, but not heavily. So, construction to 5, conjuration to 3. There's something, we can change it later. That's the research list right now. I don't have much spells at my disposal. This guy is just going to sit there. Last thing to do before the turn ends is decide what units we're going to build for the next turn. So these white centaurs are really good. They don't have any bows, but they have a couple javelins, so they've got a little bit of range, lots of armor, and they're a sacred unit, which means that they can get benefits for working with my god, like the undying thing I talked about before. So we're going to get as many as I can right here with the resources we made on god creation. And then with the leftover stuff, I want to get another mage so that when my dragon's off killing things, we still are researching magic. And all of my mages are also holy characters, so I actually need to remove one for a holy point there. We can get dryads, who are squishy-ish, basically female satyrs instead of tree people in this game. But point is, they're nature women. And they are really good at casting spells of illusion to mess with the enemy. But I kind of want them for their research, which is why I might go with the Naked Goat Man with far more research at level 19. And he's got interesting magic paths, which I might be able to take advantage of. Yeah, I definitely can later for a different plan. But basically, the downside is the Goat Man, whilst having more research, takes 2 turns to come out. The Dryads take 1. And there's 2 Dryads, one of which is just Dryad Mother, the more superior version, but costs more to make. Both Dryads can also seduce enemy commanders and add them to your team, which is a really fun playstyle if you can pull it off. So, what do I do for turn 1? Can I even afford... I can't afford the big guy, so I'm just going to get a regular Dryad, which isn't a lot of research, but a little bit is more than 0. And that's all we're going to do on this turn, because I don't trust Themis to walk off before I've scouted the area. I feel like he'll fail. So we're just going to end turn 1 like that. Okay, so the God Mighty Mage has sensed all the other thrones that we didn't find on turn 1. And some of my enemy gods have picked a prophet, their chosen one. Which we could do too, but since my only combat unit is Themis and I hate him, I do not... Oh, you gotta be kidding me! The wetlands! Another throne right there, and another throne close to us in the ocean. Usually, that would be annoying, because in the ocean you need to be able to breathe and swim and whatever. But as I said on creation, my god, who's undead, doesn't care and can go in the water anyway. So, that is fine. They are defended, though, by an insane amount of units. The throne right next to us has 230, including cave drakes, which are a bit suspiciously powerful. So we're not going to be jumping in there, but we've got 2 forests, one of which appears empty. No, I just haven't scouted it. 2 forests nearby. This forest is very weak. And then there's a farmlands, which obviously is going to bring us resources. So here's what we're going to do. Research has begun. We've got Giathea. She's just going to start researching in replace of Mighty Mage. Not as good, but it's better than nothing. We're going to make Mighty Mage become a dragon. And then we're going... Ooh, what are we going to do here? I could give the Mighty Mage some backup with a bunch of these cannon fodder units, just to make sure Mighty Mage doesn't take too much damage early on in the game. We have got a lot of HP, but I would love to live forever, really. So the elite White Centaurs we made last turn can go to either one of our leaders. I really don't trust Themis at all. Every time I put faith in a Minotaur Lord leader, with the exception of one kind that we might get later, they've always let me down. So it's a tough one. I think what we'll do is I'll give Themis most of the centaurs, and I will give 2 to Mighty Mage and set them to be his personal bodyguards, just in case. Now, Themis is going to have to set some orders, so we're going to tell his slightly less stupid warriors to hold for a couple turns with their shields and then attack the closest enemy, and they will do so... Oh. I was going to say they'll do so in a line formation, but your leader, your general, can only use certain formations based on their leadership skill, and shock, Themis is a terrible leader and can only do the most basic orders. Wow. That's disappointing. Okay. And I can't even give the undisciplined people orders beyond where they start, so they're just going to run up at the front there. And the centaurs... Now I'm really tempted not to give him the centaurs, but I do want him to actually succeed. So I will set them as his personal guard. And I will tell Themis to hold a turn. and attack? I don't really know with this man. I should just make everyone attack at once. Hold and attack's not going to be good without archery anyway. So we're just going to rush the enemy. The leader will hold 1 turn, so he's slightly more likely to live. You might guess if your leader dies, your rest of your army will lose morale and break. So we'll make him hold for 1 turn. Meanwhile, with the Mighty Mage, we're just going to make him spawn... Oh, whoops, that's slightly wrong. We're just going to make him spawn as close to the enemy as possible, because he's going to solo with his 2 bodyguards there. It would be safer to send Mighty Mage into the Pine Forest, because that's where some of our Dominion in that glowing outline is. And within our Dominion, we are stronger. Very much stronger. But at the same time, I'm not sure if the Minotaur men can take out the 40 strong men there. Oh, there's 110 people there. We're not going there. But Helm's Shire is for the Mighty Mage. I'm going to trust him to destroy them. It might be worth actually telling Mighty Mage to cast a spell quickly before he enters combat. In which case I will change his start position to a little bit further back just to give him time. And then we can go into his orders, cast a specific spell. We will do... Animate dead. How many does this make? No, we'll do animate 1 skeleton, I guess, and then attack the closest enemy. Hopefully that's not a mistake. So that's what the dragon's going to do. Themis, I have no faith in you whatsoever, but you're going to go down to the easiest option available to us. And yeah, Goethia, whatever, is going to do the research. And our scout is going to explore... I kind of want to see what's left, since that's also got a throne nearby. So it's worth seeing who's in our way. And then before we forget, as always, you build in your main place. I'm going to get the big man now, the Goat Mage, which is basically took up my entire budget for this turn. That might not be worth it, actually. We'll get our Holy Centaurs as much as I can. No, actually, once again, we'll remove 1 so that I can purchase a Centaur leader instead. There's a female one and a male one. The main difference is the spell schools they know, and that the male one's slightly tougher. And I think the female one was slightly better at dodging attacks. I want them to live, so I'm going to pick the female one. And we'll make her the prophet, which will give her a bunch of divine benefit. Alongside our white centaurs, I'm going to also get some regular... Well, 1 regular centaur. We'll build up that army later. You'll see what I'm cooking once we get there. So that's the military sorted out. Now we end turn and see how combat goes. Right, here we go. Oh, you got to be kidding me about that. Anyway, we'll get to him later. Battle in Helm Shire. Let's take a look. This is the dragon. So we're going to cast our spell, Animate Skeleton, at the start. The way combat works is it's sprite based on 3D planes, and rounds and turns move forward. You can quite clearly see what's going on with the movement there. Our enemies, though, let's take a look at what they do. Heavy infantry, so they've got bronze spears, they've got shields, ring mail as their armor, 10 health, 10 strength, so basic human stats, but they're in chunky armor. And then they've got slingers, throwing small little rocks and things. They're very weak if you can get them in melee range. So, hopefully my skeleton there is going to distract some of them from the god. The slingers don't seem to care about that, and they've killed the skeleton already. One of the white centaurs, I don't know what they're doing. Oh, okay, the white centaur's gone berserk, so it's ignoring orders to attack the enemy. He will definitely die. But, if we get close to the dragon, we'll be able to see what's going on down there. So we're being swarmed. Not the best look at first, but at least one of our guards has remained with us. And you can see these people on the right, their morale is 1, they're fleeing. One of the things that the Mighty Mage's dragon form has is fear, with a value of 15. Every turn they're getting hit, or they're watching their friends die, they need to check if they're brave enough to stick around. The combat log in the top left tells us what's going on as well. And you can see, look, I've converted some of these enemies, once they were killed, into my own plant-animated zombies. The vines have controlled their bones, and now they work for me. And any of them that survive after the battle, stay for me. My bodyguard has ran away like a coward. Our god is at risk of also running away from cowardice, but since they're dead, it only really runs away from religious enemies. And in fact, the battle is over. One man is being hunted down, and he's gone. And that's it. That's the fight. The enemies have retreated, we take the territory. That's a wrap. So you can get a log of what just happened there. Mannequins. -3 deaths, because we had none when the match begun, and we've managed to keep 3. Centaurs, the one that got enraged, ran off and died, whereas the one that retreated lived, but is a coward. And our dragon is A-OK. The enemies don't matter. If they're independent and they flee, it basically means their faction's gone. Only other rival gods can keep their units when they retreat. Now, our unit that ran off failed to make it back to friendly territory. So I think that means that the surviving horseman is a dead man, which serves him right. And then we can see the other battle in the forest. Now, let's see how this guy does. I was talking smack about him the entire match. I've given him all of my troops and more of the centaurs. Let's see how he does against a bunch of wolf barbarian men. Right, so our shield satyrs are at the front, absorbing the archery. And the enemy's retreating already. Wow. So it was a pretty easy win. They had basically no melee units. As soon as we closed the gap, there's nothing they could do. How's our leader doing? Wow, he lost 9 HP already, but he's fine. He's berserked, which increases his defense. Well, increases his damage reduction. It actually makes his defense worse. But we've chased them off the map, and that's another success. Well done. And we only lost a couple of the wild, uncontrollable satyrs, which is fine by me. And this is what I was laughing at. A famous new hero. All of the factions run by a god compete to have their heroes enter the top 5, I think. And if they're in there, top 10 actually, if they're in there, they get a title and special abilities. Somehow winning the easiest match of all time has caused Themis to become a hero of extraordinary agility. So he's got better chances to hit the enemy, and he's got better chances to parry and dodge the enemy. Maybe something will become of this man, but history tells me not to expect much. Okay, so managing the army here. How's my god's HP? Back to full. In the combat, we took a wound. I didn't bother looking at it because we've got this trait, recuperation. Over time, we heal permanent wounds. So we've healed it already in one turn. It does go away when you get old, but if you look at the age of the Mighty Mage here, 1,864 out of a possible 5,250. I don't think this dead guy's getting old anytime soon. But if we check his army, all of the centaurs are dead or missing. Instead, we've got 3 of the zombies. And they do have afflictions, but they'll recuperate over time. And just like our god, they can go into the water. So this is how we're basically going to take thrones in the sea. Usually you have to spend so much time in research to get the ability to traverse your army into the ocean. We just need to raise them from the dead, and we can march far earlier than our competitors. Such a good advantage to have. So we now control the Bowden Weald, our starting place Pangaea, and Helm Shire. Just because our divinity spreads to these other places highlighted, it doesn't actually mean we control them. Our flag indicates we control them. But we want our divinity to spread as far as it can anyway, because it empowers our god and our sacred units when we're inside it. And also, if you have 0 divinity, you automatically lose the game because no one worships your god. So here, you can see there's only 20 enemies over here in the Cloud Breakers mountainous terrain. We're just going to send our god right in there and destroy them. 20 weak human enemies stand no chance. And we're just going to set some orders for our undead, which is that they're just going to attack the closest enemy like the mindless zombies they are. They've got a cool ability where they can try and put enemies to sleep if they hit them, but these are not super defensive. More HP than a man, but they're weaker, they hit less often, they have no protection, and they can't really dodge to save their life because they're dead. So I don't expect much from them. But we'll see. Once we get a horde of zombies, that's when they can start doing some work. But this is the early stage. We've got our lovely satyr, what are they called? Centauride, Hierophantide, whatever. Female white centaur. She's going to be our leader and chosen one. So we're going to name her Blessed One. There we go. And she's going to spend a turn doing nothing so that she can become our prophet. And we'll give her those centaurs we created before, and they'll be guarding their commander. And we'll give her a regular centaur who is an archer with a bow, which is going to be very good once we get more of them. As for who to create this turn, when you collect more areas, you can pull their resources in. So we should have a greater amount of money to spend on this turn. However, I do want the Goat Man sooner rather than later, which is going to eat up a lot of those resources. So we're only going to have enough to get 2 more horsemen. I guess we can make a... no, we can't afford anything else. Wow. The money game is not strong right now. Just like in real life. And our scouting... What's it? Harpy, that's it. I keep forgetting. These are the most bird-like harpies I've seen in a long time. We're going left. There doesn't seem to be much enemy resistance there to the Throne of Ascension. So that's looking good. I think the plan is we'll build up our army in these woods, claiming the farms for more supplies, and using the woods to produce some of my units and get some research going. And then when we've got a good enough army, I'll see which of the 2 thrones right by my border are easiest to seize, and we'll seize it, because when you control it, it boosts your domain, your magic, and everything for each throne you get. So we'll pick an easier throne. Our god will hopefully be able to get some research going to start summoning more undead, and then we'll start heading west, conquering the other thrones, but we might take a dip east as well, to the Ocean Throne. We only need 4 thrones to win the game. 2 of them are right next to me. And 4 of them are only slightly away from me. I'm sure at least somewhere to the southwest, there will be another enemy god. But if we can get our troops growing quick, we'll be able to crush them before they're strong. So I'll get back to you when I've made some progress.